Hi there, thanks for clicking on this video. David and Jesse with Beyond the Blast Doors. We are talking about Star Wars Rebels Season 4, the mid-season premiere that aired on Monday on Disney XD, February 19th to be exact. And really excited to talk about a Jedi Knight and Dume, the two episodes that were part of that premiere, that hour-long premiere. And before we jump into what the episodes are about and what we like, what we don't like, Jesse, I just feel like the question on my mind going into these episodes was, what are we building towards as far as who are we going to lose out of the Ghost crew? Was that a similar thought when you sat down to watch on Disney XD? Were you thinking about, oh man, this just kind of seems like the beginning of the end?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in the kind of the teaser trailers that they teased. I mean, this is the beginning of the end. I mean, it's kind of emotional because I was hesitant about Rebels when it first premiered years ago.
I think a lot of people were.
And it's really grown on me and matured and everything. And this has been a very fantastic story. So finally getting to that climactic point for these characters is just, as a Star Wars fan, it's emotional.
I'm totally with you on that because when it first started, I was really not uncomfortable with it, but it seemed to definitely be targeting the kids. But man, the transformation has really occurred with this series, and really excited to see how Dave Filoni closes out. And we got our first glimpse at how the crew will close out Star Wars Rebels with Jedi Knight, Episode 10, and it's an episode of loss. We will say this: spoilers.
Big time spoilers.
If you haven't watched the episodes yet, which I would think that by now you have, there will be spoilers. We begin with Kanan in meditation, and he's reflecting on his entire situation. Himself, him with the Force, Ezra, Hera. She is still imprisoned in the capital city of Loth Wolves, Governor Pryce torturing her. And he makes the decision to give Ezra the reins of the recovery mission to go in and save Hera. And so Ezra does so in a very interesting way. We've seen him be force sensitive and have connections to animals, but they built these flyers, Jesse.
Yeah.
How did those work to you?
I thought it was clever. It was, Ezra kind of, this is Ezra's homeworld, he knows it very well. So, he kind of came up with this plan, these loft bats and everything, and they're like, we're going to, glide in on these, so it's going to be quiet, we're not going to be detected, and then, as they swoop in, they're blending in with actual, loft bats. I don't know if maybe Ezra, kind of used, the Force to go, hey, follow us kind of thing.
Right.
But, yeah, I thought it was really clever. It kind of shows growth on Ezra's character and leadership ability.
I think so, and it's a refreshing take on, a rebel gets captured and friends have to come in and save the day. I like Kanan cuts a hole in the floor. He jumps in. He's the one that actually does the saving of Hera. They have a bit of a moment. She makes a joke about his haircut. They say, I love you. And then they have to run because they have to go and meet up with Ezra and Sabine, who are, over the next 10 minutes trying to steal an Imperial security ship.
Like a drop ship or something,
right.
Yeah.
And, it's funny because those ships are actually from the Clone Wars that they've still maintained in the Imperial line. But anyways, those are over at the fueling area for this Imperial base, and it's actually the location where Grand Admiral Thrawn's TIE defenders are being developed and being built there. And so this whole episode kind of culminates towards, we have to escape, breaking into the prison. The hard part was supposed to be, the easy part was getting in. The challenging part is getting out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be concise. I don't want to spend too much time on the little details. But essentially, like I said, it's building up towards that escape and how that escape cost us the life of a loved character, and it's Kanan, and it's so hard to say that because Kanan seemed like an obvious character that might have to go, and it was actually speculated on our show that he would die, but I don't think anybody saw Kanan Jarrus dying in the first episode.
The premiere, the final half of the season. Yeah, I mean that's what kind of blew me away, but. It was done beautifully. It was just one of those things where it was just like, this is how I'd want this character to go, sacrificing himself for his friends and, his family.
And did it work for you? So they're getting chased by the Empire. Governor Pryce clearly has an issue of maintaining Thrawn's respect through the series overall. She's failing him now. He directs her to go chase them down. She is in an AT-AT, calls the order, and they fire at the fuel cell where, our ghost crew is trying to escape, and that's what causes the explosion. The rebels actually don't destroy the facility. It's the Empire that destroys itself, which is almost ironic because how does the Death Star ultimately get destroyed? Overcompensation, ego, a small design flaw, not worried about it, So it kind of mirrored what would happen in the future. What do you think of that moment, though, where the rebels are trying to get onto the Imperial ship to escape? The bolts from the AT-AT come in, explosion occurs, and then Kanan is there using the Force with the fire. What is that scene? How does that scene develop in your eyes, Jesse?
It's a very tense moment. It was, as soon as it happened, I knew that this was it. Mm-hmm. I knew we were going to lose this character at this very moment. And, just the sacrifice, and Hera had the appropriate response too, because Hera knows what's happening too and everything. And yet she tries to join him, and he force pushes her back onto this dropship. And, and it's for that moment, it was just like you could see it in his eyes, that tense, moment. And it was, I have to do this. I am doing this for you, go.
I thought it was really powerful when she makes that leap to go try and pull Kanan back onto the ship. He freezes her, like you mentioned, and then it's that slow head turn towards her. And he is trying to hold back. I mean, this is how powerful Kanan has become. He's holding back this explosion. He's holding back Hera. And when he looks up and you see his eyes, that glossiness that showed that he was blind goes away. And the iris of his eyes return. And for one last moment, his last moment, he gets to see the woman he loved the most and know that he is giving his friends and his loved one at least another chance to keep the fight going. He throws her back into the ship, force pushes the ship away from the site, and the flame just consumes him.
Yeah.
It was just, I think I was more taken aback because I just couldn't believe it happened so soon. I mean, like 25 minutes into the second half of the season, and Kanan is gone. And obviously there's going to be some emotional things that transpire with all the characters, and we see that start to develop in Dume. Dume being an episode where it starts or resumes where our rebel friends return. Zeb got left back at the base. He's all excited. He's excited because he sees Hera, and he's thinking that it was a successful mission. But clearly, everyone is dealing with the pain in their own way.
Yeah, it's just, even in that moment, like Sabine is piloting the dropship, and she's trying to hold it together. Ezra, that's the other, again, Ezra here is, he sees this happening. He knows what's happening, and yet, he's that firm grip on Hera and everything, so again, there's just like props to the character growth, there. And it was just one of those moments it was like they close out that first episode, and it was just like, wow, and then we get into Dume, and all the rest of the crew is just, they're dealing with this. And they're showing, everybody's heartbroken.
They're expressing the emotions that maybe you as the viewer felt. The scene that sticks out to me is Chopper putting out his little claw thing to Hera. It's sometimes you have to remember that droids in this galaxy have feelings, and it creates moments like that. And I just think it's really interesting how the rebels decide to move forward, because Sabine and Zeb definitely developed this mentality of, well, let's go take it at the Empire. They took Kanan from us. We're going to try and avenge our friend's death. Meanwhile, Hera kind of goes off on her own to kind of pay homage to Kanan. She has her childhood relic and ends up, crafting a piece to attach that symbolizes her love of Kanan, and that Kanan's always a part of her family, which I thought was a beautiful touch. It's been an item that has been consistently shown throughout this series, with Thrawn capturing it from her home, and that storyline playing out. But it was interesting to see how everyone kind of handled the grief in their own way. And I don't know, what were your thoughts on it? Did it kind of go the way you expected? You think the grief would end so quickly? And it kind of makes sense. You can mourn your loss for a little bit, but then you got to go right back to the battle.
There's some really tense imagery just even at the very end of Jedi Knight into Dume. For me, my favorite parts were when Hera was in the kind of like the cave and everything. I mean, Kanan kind of had like a ritualistic, prep.
Yeah, kind of like an altar in there.
Yeah. And everything, and she's kind of hanging out in there, and mourning his loss, and his mask is kind of like on this table, his there's hair and everything on there, just really just kind of powerful things, and for me it was personally as a Star Wars fan, the mask was one of the most important things because on the mask are painted jag eyes, which are a Mandalorian symbol for. Just hear me out, but they're only given to people who have sacrificed in the defense of their clan, their family.
Okay, so it's kind of foreshadowing.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of like where I kind of in the past have theorized that Kanan's going to die at some point because I mean these are painted on here, and that image there. I mean, he lived up to that. And you don't get those markings easily as a Mandalorian, so it's just kind of like
it was
powerful.
It was really cool to see how it ended. Now, I kind of want to shift here because kind of like how I mentioned, we've kind of set up, Zeb and Sabine are going to do their own thing, and I'm pretty sure that Ezra is along for that ride too, and then Hera's doing her thing. The element of Thrawn here in these two episodes, because we only get him briefly, and it's pretty much him developing a more intense rage towards Governor Price because his TIE Defender facility has been destroyed. Meanwhile, he got a conversation with Grand Moff Tarkin about how the Empire is wanting to redistribute funding for Project Stardust with Orson Krennic, which
nice
was
Easter egg there. Yeah.
That was such a great connective piece to Rogue One and, of course, A New Hope. I really enjoyed that. And what I really enjoyed, and maybe I'm thinking about this a little too much, but the fact that Thrawn is more than willing to go to Coruscant and speak to the Emperor about why his project needs more attention and more time. Very few people could get the time of the Emperor, and to talk to the Emperor as an equal. There definitely doesn't seem to be any concern about Thrawn having an interview with the Emperor.
Considering that the Empire, notably in the lore, is very much lack of racist towards alien species, which Thrawn is, he's a Chiss,
right,
and everything. So his, like you said, his ability to I'm going to go to talk to Palpatine. And it's just kind of like, I wouldn't want to be on the same planet with a guy, and you're wanting to fly there and have basically have tea with him and talk military strat, and it's just like, no.
I think it works really well.
Yeah,
and it also is supported by what happened in the Timothy Zahn novel in 2017. I'm sure it's more of the Thrawn we'll see in the second novel coming out later this year. But I really did enjoy that. For me, that was what was really exciting to me, was seeing those exchanges and then thinking about what could come later on in the second half of the series. Zeb and Ezra, or I should say Zeb and Sabine, play some tricks with the Empire. They cause a couple of explosions. And wouldn't you know that Rook is present, the personal bodyguard for Thrawn. And I guess Rook has really good eyes because he can totally see Zeb and Sabine hiding in the hills.
I think he has a strong sense of smell.
Yes.
I mean, in Jedi Knight, he smells, them as they're infiltrating the base.
Yep.
So I think potentially he's got the sixth sense. Is what we'll go
he definitely
with.
does, and he pursues him pretty quickly, and they kind of go into fisticuffs. They have a hand-to-hand combat sequence, a couple of the sequences, because between that exchange, we get to see Ezra communicating through this force dream, force vision, but he's talking with the Loth Wolves. Yeah. And say what you might about the Loth Wolves, I'm kind of tired of them. I need something to happen with them very quickly for me to keep caring. But they have this exchange. First words out of this massive Loth Wolf is Dume, which, Ezra reveals that's the real name of his master. And so they kind of have this conversation. I liked it because they're talking about his fear and his anxiety about moving forward without his master, and he's not sure what to do. And the Loth Wolves give him knowledge, right?
Yeah, they basically tell him, look, he's gone, but you got there's bigger problems, on the table here.
Yes.
And you guys don't have time to mourn his loss. and it kind of puts Ezra in motion, helps him discover what he needs to know, and then he puts the rest of he's like, this is the issue,
It's a really nice bow to tie on these 2 episodes, right? Because we have these 2-3 storylines happening in that second episode, and Ezra comes back, and he's able to look at Zeb and Sabine after escaping Rook. Zeb just beats the crud out of it.
Almost kills him.
Almost kills him. Sabine holds him back, which part of me is like, I think the rebellion would kill that guy, but maybe that's part of the TV show. I'm being overcritical in this moment. I think it's a good message to send. Like, you don't have to beat the guy to death in order to get your message point, but they ship him. They ship him back on a speeder bike to the Empire. They're like, that's a message. That's a message to the Empire.
Well, Spray kicked me basically on his back.
But Ezra pulls everybody together, and he's like, I know what we're doing. We've got this stone. We need to go to the Jedi Temple. It's in danger, and it has information that we need to either win or have some success or stay alive. Something along those lines. We really rifled through those 2 episodes, but that's what happened. There's a lot of good stuff, and there's not a whole lot of bad stuff. And I would make the argument that there's really nothing bad about these 2 episodes.
Honestly, I didn't see anything bad.
What is the biggest pro of these 2 episodes?
It's just the story. Honestly, for me, it's one of those things. Again, I was unsure about this series when it launched. Over the last few seasons, we've seen strong character growth across the board. Dave Filoni has done a fantastic job of presenting this, tying in old lore, new lore, as well as referencing the movies and everything. As a whole, it feels whole.
Well, it feels whole. It feels like Star Wars, and I think that's what Dave Filoni does so well. And I want to see Dave Filoni. If he gets another animated series, that's wonderful. But I want to see this man at the helm of a Star Wars movie so badly because he gets Star Wars. To me, he is the heir apparent to George Lucas.
Well, this is the thing. When he was making Clone Wars, he spent so much time with George.
So much time. 6 seasons worth.
I'm a Mandalorian nerd, but I mean, it's the same. He put all that stuff on the table in front of George, and George is like, yeah, that's good, except Jango and Boba aren't Mandalorians. We'll get into that some other time. But, it's just one of those things. Is his ability, his talent, honestly, it's just why isn't Disney utilizing his he spent so much time with the creator. It's
there are so many different projects in the works. There's definitely a chance of that happening, but we will keep touting Dave Filoni for a movie. So storyline, Dave Filoni getting to close the series out the way he wants to close it out. I think another pro for me specifically would be the boldness to take out Kanan and the way they did take out Kanan so early on in this final stretch. Really, I find myself laughing a little bit the fact that I keep saying, they killed him off so early. This is the end of season 4. It's the last half of the series. It ends in mid-March. So this is about the time where maybe we need to start knocking people off. And Dave Filoni and the storytellers wasted no time in doing so. I just really appreciate that because this truly felt like Star Wars, and I do not believe that this series is being held back by being on Disney XD. So glad that they were able to give Kanan that kind of a send-off on this series.
Well, I mean, let's not forget about the voice actors.
Crushed it.
The interesting thing, I watched a thing after these episodes.
Oh, the Rebel Recon with on Star Wars Channel. Yeah.
They didn't reveal this information to them up in they were in the booth recording.
Yes, nobody knew.
Okay, this is what's going to happen next, and I just tried to put myself in their shoes. That had to be a heartbreaking moment to have to read that.
I can't even imagine because you see the footage of Freddie Prinze Jr. just putting his face in his hands because he didn't even know. These are characters that these guys and girls, I shouldn't say guys and girls, these actors and actresses, they invest so much energy on, probably for a year before they even start recording for the first season. I mean, they've been working on these characters for the better part of 5 years. And now the end of Kanan and then Freddie Prinze Jr.'s part on the show, I mean, that's crazy. Now, we don't know that yet. I mean, Kanan could come back
Force Ghost,
or the voice in Ezra's head, something like that. But that was so powerful. I really love that behind the scenes, and you felt like someone in real life died. But by the Rebels recon, and then by like Twitter, you really felt like a real person died.
Think about it. What a clever tactic on Dave Filoni's part, because imagine all of a sudden you're given that news, and then it's you're heartbroken, and then you're told that you have to record this. So essentially, the artists have already captured the artwork and the emotions on the characters that we see, but the voices and everything that we hear, after the fact, that emotion's there. It's in the tone of their voices, and it's a very real emotion for these actors and actresses.
And sometimes the order of it, they'll do the in-studio recording. The actors will actually take their visuals from that performance and put that into the final animatics, which I think is super cool. It's just really well done from the start to the finish. Not just these 2 episodes, but the whole season, the whole series in general. So I'm just really excited that we get a couple more weeks of really great storytelling. We've mentioned some of the things that we like. I mentioned earlier how I really like how Thrawn and Tarkin were brought into this series. Stephen Stanton doing the voice there. That's so awesome to hear him do the Tarkin voice. Were there any cons? Were there any things about the 2 episodes that you didn't enjoy, felt out of place?
Honestly, this will sound like Rook kind of annoys me.
Really? Why is that?
Just he almost sometimes seems like a dog with like his sixth sense kind of thing.
Isn't that supposed to be how he is though?
I guess.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where, for me, from a tactical point, this is a individual that has caused issue. I mean, this guy. I mean, he wrapped up, Kanan and Hera while they were trying to escape. Just imagine if he hadn't been there.
Right.
They could have gotten that split second, extra second. Could have, they could have gotten away. Kanan would still, and it's. I think that's where that's potentially where Zeb's anger, comes from, is knowing that he absolutely hates this individual for the loss of his friend, his brother.
I think that's a really good observation.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good observation. I personally like the character of Rook. I like I like that character. I liked how they brought him in along with Thrawn.
I love that aspect. I'm just kind of like ready to see him go, because it's like you result.
Or let him go full.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we've seen him at like 40%. I want to see him at 100%. What kind of damage can he do to someone in true combat? So that's really interesting. I've got 2 things, and these are, I think, minor things. The first, I kind of indicated earlier, I didn't like everything stopping for Hera and Kanan to talk about Kanan's haircut and their love for each other when they're trying to escape a prison.
Not appropriate time.
I feel like that doesn't work. It just kind of killed the pacing for me, because like from the start of the episode, man, I feel this thing trucking. We're going to go in, we're going to get Hera, we're going to pull out, we're going to escape. I was honestly planning on Zeb going on that mission, and I thought he would get stuck again, and I kind of thought he would die. And I guess that's kind of where I'm baffled, because it's like, who would have put money on the fact that Kanan would have gone before Zeb? I'm not trying to slam the character. I enjoy Zeb. I enjoy what the character has brought, the muscle to the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I kind of always thought that Zeb would be the first one to go. But the Kanan loss has way more gravitas, I think, with the viewer. So that's the first thing. I was like, how about you wait to talk about love and the haircut later on?
You could argue that she was under the effects of drugs.
That's true.
So
and where are you in the episode going to have that moment anyways? Because there's not really a time. I mean, they leave the cell, and the next thing you know, Kanan's dead. Like, there was really no opportunity moving forward for that to happen.
I mean, I'm just being realistic. I mean, I don't know how many of you viewers have dealt with a drunk person, it's very talkative. Sometimes they're like, oh, I love your hair.
Yeah, I DJ'd weddings for a couple years, so yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. It was interesting to see, like, a drug-influenced scene in Star Wars. That was fairly interesting. Like, because I've never seen the droid... because they bring in the Imperial probe.
It's always been insinuated. It was insinuated in A New Hope.
But it does inject chemical into a person. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, not cool. I mean, torture is terrible. Like, that's like essentially the death penalty. And we're not about that. But I think if there was another con that I had, would be kind of what I mentioned already. I feel bad about bashing on Zeb, but kind of wasted character in all this. Sits out in the first episode, and then the second episode, he just kind of makes Rook his punching bag. So those are my two things. They're so minute in comparison to how great this mid-season premiere was. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of episodes that we're going to get. Do you think that... well, before we get into this, what was your reaction to like the social media craze after the episodes dropped? Like, what did you think? Because I saw a lot of people like crying and saying they were crying, and I was really like taken aback by it all.
I mean, that's how I felt.
Did you cry? Did you cry?
I'm not crying. You're crying.
You just conveniently were cutting an onion while you were watching Disney XD on a Monday night. That's hysterical.
Just a little dust in the eye.
I didn't get tearful, but I definitely felt like, oh man, like I got to know that guy. Like he was cool.
For me, David, I get into like I'm an avid reader. I can't tell you how much I read.
You get intense.
I get intense and everything. So yeah, when something is done, like especially when film and everything, I'm not gonna lie, I can get choked up really easily, and I can tell you like in the last 2 years, this Hodor's death. Sorry, spoilers for another series. And then, as much as people like the knock on the Hobbit movies, that interaction between Bilbo and Thorne and everything,
I'll give you that. But
that
overall,
was a hard
still
scene
movies.
for me because I mean it was, that's one of my other favorite franchises. So I mean, it's just when the film work, when it's done properly, that's what they want.
Well, yeah, it's a combination.
That's just credit to their ability.
It's a combination of the camera work, the music, the voice acting. It all builds. Kevin Kiner, man, absolutely crushes the musical score, and I'm kind of surprised that they don't give him the keys to Star Wars soundtracks when Williams calls it quits. Michael Giacchino has been rumored as the next guy. Why isn't Kiner getting the baton here, man? I mean, he is...
It's the same question. Why aren't they using Dave Filoni, more? Maybe they are, but...
We just haven't found out yet?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, so in case you didn't know, the next two episodes, and I have my cheat sheet here, the next two episodes for Star Wars Rebels... Wolves and Adore and A World Between Worlds that premieres on Monday, February 26th. And remember, leading up until the very end of this series, it's 2 episodes a night. And then I think the last episode, the grand finale, is an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something ridiculous. So really excited to see how they close it out. So again, this coming Monday on Disney XD, always on Mondays on Disney XD. And it'll be exciting to see where we go in these next 2 episodes. It's going to be interesting to see how Ezra moves forward and the entire crew moves forward without the wise Jedi with them.
I could be emotionally distraught for the next month.
It's quite I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I have Girl Scout Thin Mints. We will be just fine.
We'll be fine.
We'll be just fine.
We'll get David Gilbert caught up. He'll watch this. He'll be upset, and then we'll all eat Thin Mints together. Now is a time where we want you to join the conversation. We want to make sure that you comment down below and let us know what you think about these 2 episodes of Star Wars Rebels. That's how we continue the conversation. That's going to do it for Jesse and I. Be sure you join us this Monday on our next episode of Beyond the Blast Doors. We'll see you soon. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. You can watch other videos just like this one right now by checking out these videos on your screen. And by the way, thanks for checking out Beyond the Blast Doors.